Good evening, everyone, and welcome. I'd like to call this special call board meeting of the San Felipe Del Rio Consolidated Independent School District Board of Trustees, today being Monday, August 29th, 2022. Madam Secretary, would you call roll?
Yes, sir. Ms. Luna Chavez?
Present.
Mr. Overfeld?
Present.
Ms. Gonzalez? Here. Mr. Mesa?
Here.
Mr. Galindo?
Present.
Ms. Haynes?
Here.
And myself. Sir, we have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Let the record show that we do have a quorum of board members and that this meeting was duly called in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. At this time, we will have opening ceremonies, first with a moment of silence for personal reflection, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you again. We have a short agenda, board members, and we'll go to straight to number 9, consent agenda. We have awarding a bid, RFQ, RFP 22-10. Has to do with, again, a reconditioned, refurbished, a tractor trailer cab. And then, of course, other purchases over $25,000. If you would like to ask any questions or have any of those items on the consent agenda pulled out, this would be the time to do that. Is there anyone that needs further information regarding consent agenda?
Didn't we do this yet?
We do have a citizen's comments before that. So in the meantime, if you would like to look over those items on the consent agenda, we do have one person that signed up for comments. We have Mary Cardenas with the board organization. Again, the topic, resolution concerning protecting children from mass shootings. Ms. Cardenas?
Good evening, School Board President Mesa, School Board members, and Superintendent Rios. My name is Mary Cardenas, a leader of the Board of Organization. We are present this evening to ask you to vote in favor of the resolution to address the protection of our schools and mass shootings. While we have a clear understanding that there is not a 100% guarantee that our children or any other person will be completely protected of gun violence, we believe raising the age from 18 to 21 to purchase an AR-15 would greatly help. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll continue with the consent agenda. Any questions regarding, Dr. Rios, I do have one, and that's on the bidding information. I know that there's a substantial amount of difference between one bid and the other. Is that delivery date the major difference?
Yes, sir. For the cab tractor, in order to have it for this coming September, not next month, but a year from this coming year versus a year and a half, we did pay extra, but that would ensure that they would have it for the next football season and not, I shouldn't say next football season, the next band season, because they travel for their own competitions a whole lot. So yes, sir, we are paying more for that.
Okay. Was there any attempt to see if the other vendor could do a delivery date earlier than December?
Ms. Childers worked with them, but I believe that was the earliest that they could do it. Is that correct, Ms. Childers? Yes.
Okay. Anyone else with any other item?
No, sir.
Okay, then I will entertain a motion for the consent agenda to be approved. Motion made by Ms. Gonzalez, seconded by Mr. Galindo. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. We go on to item 10, administration. Consideration to approve a board resolution supporting Uvalde ISD request for a special session to protect our schools from mass shootings. Sandra Hernandez.
Good evening, Mr. Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. In light of the statewide tragedy of the mass shooting in Uvalde, Texas, which led to the loss of 19 children and 2 teachers at Robb Elementary, the enclosed resolution petitions Governor Greg Abbott to call the Texas legislature into action to protect our children from mass shootings and senseless gun violence. The enclosed resolution reads as follows. Whereas the 2022 spring semester ended in a statewide tragedy with the mass shooting at Robb Elementary in Uvalde, Texas, leading to the loss of 19 children and 2 teachers. Whereas our nation has a long list of mass shootings to include the Midland, Odessa shooting, the El Paso Walmart shooting, the Santa Fe High School shooting, and the Sutherland Springs church shooting, all occurring in Texas within the past 5 years. Whereas our students, parents, faculty, and staff should not be in fear that mass shootings and gun violence will occur within the San Felipe Del Rio CISD and our community, and as our schools must be a safe refuge for our children and the adults charged with their care. Whereas the Texas legislature can take action to protect our children from mass shootings and senseless gun violence by implementing common sense reforms that focus on our children's safety and security wherever they gather, be it our schools, churches, and houses of worship, and other public places. And whereas the Texas Constitution requires the governor to call the Texas legislature into special session, and although 3 special sessions have been called since the end of the 87th regular session on May 31st, 2021, none of these focused on the prevention of mass shootings and gun violence. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the San Felipe Del Rio Consolidated Independent School District calls upon Governor Abbott to call a special session of the Texas legislature as soon as possible to protect our children from mass shootings and gun violence, and that the Board of Trustees of the San Felipe Del Rio Consolidated Independent School District calls upon the governor to include common sense policies such as raising the minimum age for the purchase of assault rifles in order to protect our most precious Texas resource, our children.
Thank you so much. We stand in solidarity in supporting Uvalde and the horrific, tragic events that happened on May 24th. There's been special sessions that have been called, some insignificant in regard to election integrity and other items, and we think this is a very important resolution that should be a special session called regarding AR-15 assault rifles that I think are war weapons, not weapons that should be sold to public, but that's my opinion. I just want to, again, thank everyone for understanding, what a horrific event happened in Uvalde, and we try to do everything that we can to protect our children. Anyone else would like to say anything? If not, I'll ask for a motion. Recommendations you've already made, correct?
Yes.
Mr. Luna. No, that's fine. You make a motion?
You
It
read the
is-
recommendation, correct?
Yes, sir. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the resolution calling upon Governor Abbott to call a special session of the Texas Legislature as soon as possible to protect our children from mass shootings and gun violence, and to include common sense policies such as raising the minimum age for the purchase of assault rifles in order to protect our most precious Texas resource, our children.
Thank you so much. Motion been made by Becky Chavez, seconded by Mrs. Gonzalez. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Go on to item 13. Consideration approve modification of the 2022-2023 general fund balance commitments. Amy Childers.
Good evening, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. As you have been updated, in mid-July, we received a non-renewal notice from TASB for our insurance policies. And so our insurance representatives Brown and Brown has put a bid together for us and obtained, contacted over 50 vendors to provide us quotes for our insurance coverage starting September 1st of this year. The total amount of the policies that were presented totaled $2,301,464.78. The general fund budget that was allocated for this year totaled $1,206,800.67. And administration has been able to identify an additional $550,000 in the general funds that can be reallocated from salary vacancies, leaving us with a shortage of $544,664. At this time, administration would like to ask the board to commit the funds in the amount of $544,664 from general fund for insurance coverage.
Okay. Does everyone understand? We have an item listed as 13A, and then we have the other one listed as 13B. So this amount will come out of the fund balance. Any questions from board members? No questions? Recommendation?
Yes, sir. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve modification of the 2022-2023 general fund balance with commitment of fund balance and budget amendment to the general fund in the amount of $544,664 for insurance coverage.
Heard the recommendation. I'll entertain a motion for approval. Motion made by Mrs. Gonzalez, seconded by Mr. Galindo. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
We go on to item B. Again, consideration to approve a purchase order. Sorry. Consideration to approve purchase order over 25,000 with Brown & Brown LLC, Liberty Mutual Insurance Company, and AmTrust Insurance Company in total amount not to exceed $2,301,464.78. Funding source, general funds and committed funds for insurance coverage pertaining to property, general liability, school leaders' error and omissions, law enforcement liability, crime, fleet, cyber liability, active shooter, and workers' compensation. Amy Childers.
Good evening once again. Yes, sir. This is the recommendation for in order to do the PO. Normally, this would be under consent agenda, but since we did have to commit the funds first, we're doing it now after the committed funds, and it is to issue the purchase orders for the 3 companies that are listed there for our insurance coverage starting September 1st.
Questions from board members? Dr. Rios, I have a question because, again, You know, I looked at the amounts and of course, you know, it's quite a bit, quite a difference. This is only a commitment for 1 year, September 1st, August 31st.
Yes, sir. We visited with the representatives from Brown Brown, and they told me that we could go out for bids again, and hopefully we would start as early as this coming February to see if the amounts would go down. It is a large amount. You can see the amount is 2.3 million. We have budgeted approximately 1.2 million, so that's why we're having to provide the additional $1.1 million, with 550 coming from the elimination of excess positions, and the other 550,000 coming from the agenda y'all just approved, agenda item you just approved, to come from fund balance. Yes, sir.
Okay. And this would start immediately on September 1st.
Yes, sir. September 1st to August 31st.
So we don't have too much time to think about it. So, but I know that a lot of work has been done to make sure that we have everything in order for today. Any questions? Recommendation, please?
Yes, sir. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the payment of the purchase orders over $25,000 to Brown & Brown LLC, Liberty Mutual Insurance Company, and AmTrust Insurance Company in the amount not to exceed $2,301,464.78, and approve for superintendent to sign adoption agreement regarding coverage.
Thank you very much. You've heard the recommendation. Is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Mrs. Webb, seconded by Mr. Galindo. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. We go on to item 14, consideration to approve the updated 2022-2023 district compensation plans. Idea Garcia.
Good evening, once again, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. I'm going to take this item for Ms. Garcia this evening. So tonight, we're presenting two changes to our compensation plan. The first one is on the supplemental stipends, and it's on page 2 of those. Towards the bottom, I believe it's marked in red. It should be marked in blue. We're adding this stipend. It's for the Blended Academy class sponsor stipend of $1,000. The second stipend this evening that we're adding is over under the athletic stipends. And we're adding the stipend that says nurse athletic for the $7,576.
It's not highlighted, right?
It's
No,
red, sir,
I believe it's possibly in red. It should have been in blue. But
The athletic, yeah. That's not what it is.
it might-
Mine was not. Yes, I see the class sponsor.
I don't know if I should say mine says
Which is the athletic one?
page 58 and page 61. if it's the same.
Oh, okay, I see. I see, okay. Yeah, okay. Having a hard time finding it, but it wasn't highlighted on mine.
Maybe I got his book.
Any questions from board members? Yeah. Recommendation?
Yes, sir. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the updated 2022-2023 district compensation plans as presented.
For the recommendation, I'll entertain a motion for approval. Motion made by Amy Haynes, seconded by Mrs. Webb. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The time is 6:20 p.m. We will go into closed session pursuant to policy 551.074 and 551.071. If any action will be considered for anything discussed in closed session, we will reconvene into open session and take a vote. At this time, again, we are in closed session. Okay, the time is 7:52 p.m. We're going to reconvene into open session. No action was taken in executive. And for the record, Mr. Overfeld left our meeting, so he will not be here for this session. We're under item 18 on the agenda. 18A, consideration to approve the personnel report to include the following: new hires, district vacancies, retirements, and resignations. Sandra Hernandez.
Good evening, Mr. Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. The administration recommends the following new personnel: Maria de la Cruz, third grade teacher at Ruben Chavita Elementary; Pablo Carrizales, CTE Business Technology teacher at Del Rio Business Middle School; Arabella Villarreal as CTE Digital Media Technology teacher.
You've heard the recommendation from administration. Is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Amy Haynes, seconded by Mr. Galindo. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously with 6 votes. We go on to item C. Item B is going to be tabled. Consideration to approve the position of coordinator, staff development, and advanced academics for the Department of Curriculum and Instruction. Sandra Hernandez.
Mr. Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board, the administration recommends Mrs. Judy Galindo for the position of coordinator, staff development, and advanced academics for the Department of Curriculum and Instruction.
You've heard the recommendation. Is there a motion? Motion made by Becky Chavez. Is there a second? Ms. Gonzalez. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously with 6 votes. Item D, consideration to approve the position of bilingual ESL strategist for Dr. Lonnie Green Elementary. Sandra Hernandez.
Yes, sir. The administration recommends Ms. Thelma Soto for the position of bilingual ESL strategist for Dr. Lonnie Green Elementary.
You've heard the recommendation from administration. Is there a motion for approval? Mr. Galindo, second. Amy Haynes. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously with 6 votes. Item E, consideration to approve the position of counselor for Del Rio High School. Sandra Hernandez.
Yes, sir. The administration recommends Mr. Michael Evans for the position of counselor for Del Rio High School.
Thank you. Motion for consideration by Becky Chavez, seconded by Mrs. Webb. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Item F, consideration to approve salary adjustments. Sandra Hernandez.
Yes, sir. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the salary adjustments as discussed in closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.074.
For the recommendation, is there a motion for, okay, motion made by Ms. Gonzalez, seconded by Amy Haynes. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there being no other items on the agenda, is there a motion for adjournment?
There is one more.
Still got one
Oh,
more.
one more? Which, oh, the emergency, the most important one of all. Sorry about that. Item G, consideration to approve the San Felipe de Oro CISD Multi-Hazard Emergency Operations Plan.
Yes, sir. The Texas Education Code 37.108 requires school districts to develop and implement a multi-hazard emergency operations plan. The district's multi-hazard emergency operations plan provides a framework that outlines the district's response to managing an incident. The EOP addresses prevention, mitigation, preparedness, response, and recovery. As part of immediate actions to improve campus safety around the state, the Multi-Hazard Emergency Operations Plan has been revised and updated to meet code requirements. And therefore, it is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the San Felipe Del Rio CISD Multi-Hazard Emergency Operations Plan as presented.
Thank you very much. I just want to comment that it's the most comprehensive plan that I've seen in all the years that I've been involved with education in regard to safety and emergency operations. And I realize that a lot of work has gone in from different departments, including campus personnel. And it's still an ongoing plan because there's still additions and corrections to be made. But overall, I think this is a very, very much needed plan that keeps us ahead of some of the other districts that are dealing with situations that have come before different school settings. With that being said, you've heard the recommendation. Is there a motion for adoption? Motion made by Mr. Gonzalez, Mr. Galindo, Brother Amy Haynes seconded. All those in favor? Motion carries.
Thank you, sir.
Now, I don't see any other items on the agenda. Is there a motion for adjournment? Motion made by Mr. Galindo, seconded by Amy Haynes. All those in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you very much and have a good night.